Hello everyone and welcome. So today we're going to dive into something that is literally all around us, the basic building blocks of our world, metals and non-metals. Let's get right into it.
All right, to get those gears turning, let's start with the question. Ever wondered why a gold earring has that beautiful shine, but a piece of charcoal, coila, is just dull and black? It's a simple question, but the answer is fascinating, and you'll know it by the end of our session today. So, what's on the menu for today? Well, we'll kick things off by comparing metals and nonmetals. Then we'll see how they behave chemically. We're also going to rank metals by their strength, see how they bond together, and finally, tackle a real-world problem, rusting. Sounds like a plan? Let's go.
Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the physical stuff. How can you just look at something or touch it and get a clue whether it's a metal or a nonmetal?
So, what's the textbook definition of a metal? Well, think about it like this. They're usually hard, they're definitely shiny, and they have this cool property called being malleable, which is a fancy way of saying you can hammer them into thin sheets. And super important, they're great at conducting heat and electricity. Like the copper wires in your home or the steel vessels in your mom's kitchen. And then you've got the total opposite, right? The nonmetals. They're typically dull, not shiny at all. They're brittle, meaning if you hit one, it'll likely shatter or break, and they're terrible conductors of heat and electricity. Think about a piece of wood or plastic. That's the idea. Okay, let's put them head to head. This is where it gets really clear. Metals have luster. They're shiny. Nonmetals, dull. Metals are malleable, like the silver foil, the vark, that you see on sweets. You can beat them into sheets. They're also ductile, which means you can pull them into long, thin wires, just like copper wires for electricity. And they are sonorous. They make a ringing sound when you strike them, like your school bell. Nonmetals, well, they're none of these things.
All right, so that's the look and feel part. Pretty straightforward, right? But the real magic, the real story, begins when they start interacting with other elements. Let's look at their chemical behavior. Now, this is super important, so listen closely. When a metal reacts with oxygen, which is everywhere in the air, it forms something called a metal oxide. And the key thing to remember is that this oxide is basic in nature. Remember the litmus test from the lab? A basic substance will turn red litmus paper blue. That's what metal oxides do. But what about nonmetals? Well, they play for the other team entirely. When a nonmetal like carbon or sulfur reacts with oxygen, it forms a nonmetal oxide, and these are acidic. They do the exact opposite. They'll turn blue litmus paper red. This is a fundamental chemical difference between them, basic versus acidic. Simple.
Okay, now for something really cool. Are all metals created equal? Not at all. Some are like super energetic kids in a playground, always ready to react. Others are kind of lazy, more chill, and prefer to stay on their own. So how do we rank them? Imagine it's like a wrestling match, a chemical fight. If you put two metals in a situation where they have to compete, who wins? Well, the answer is always the stronger, more reactive metal. It will push the weaker one out of the way. And this is the official ranking. It's called the Reactivity series. At the very top, you have the champions, the heavyweights like potassium and sodium. These guys react so fast it's crazy. Then in the middle, you have the everyday metals like zinc and iron. And way down at the bottom, you've got the really calm, non-reactive ones like silver and gold. And it makes sense, right? That's exactly why we make jewelry out of them. They don't react and get spoiled easily.
So we've seen metals and we've seen nonmetals. But what happens when a giver metal meets a taker nonmetal? Oh, it's a fantastic story, really. They form a special connection, a very strong bond called an ionic bond.
The golden rule here is so simple, you'll never forget it. Metals are givers. They are generous. They always want to give away their extra electrons. And nonmetals, they're takers. They desperately need electrons to feel complete, so they accept them. It's just like sharing your tiffin at school. One friend gives their extra paratha, and the other friend, who forgot their lunch, happily takes it. So picture this. Our friend sodium, the metal, gives away one electron. Now electrons are negative, right? So if you lose a negative thing, you become positive. And we have a special name for this new positive ion, a cation. And check this out, a little trick to remember. The T in the word cation looks just like a plus sign. Easy, nah? And what about our other friend, chlorine, the nonmetal? It just gained that negative electron from sodium, so naturally it becomes negatively charged. Simple. And we call this negative ion an anion. So now we have a positive sodium cation and a negative chlorine anion. And what do we know about opposites? They attract. It's like this powerful magnetic force pulling them together. They lock into place, forming a brand new compound, NaCl. And what is NaCl? It's just common table salt. The salt we put in our food every single day. How cool is that?
Okay, let's bring all this chemistry back into the real world. Let's talk about a problem we've all seen, probably a million times, the rusting of iron. The proper scientific word for this process is corrosion.
You've definitely seen this, right? Especially during the monsoons, on an old gate or a bicycle left outside, that reddish-brown flaky stuff, that's rust. What's actually happening is a slow chemical reaction. The iron metal is reacting with both oxygen and the water moisture in the air, and this reaction forms a new substance, rust, which literally eats away at the metal and makes it weak.
But don't worry, we humans are quite clever. We figured out a bunch of ways to fight back against rust. The simplest way? Just paint it. That creates a barrier. Or you can apply a layer of oil or grease. A more advanced method is galvanization, where we give the iron a protective raincoat made of zinc. Or, even better, we can mix iron with other elements to create alloys, like the stainless steel used for your plates and spoons, which doesn't rust at all.
Phew, we covered a lot today. So let's do a super quick recap of the main points. Remember, metals are shiny and form positive cations. Non-metals are dull and form negative anions. They team up to make ionic compounds by transferring electrons. The reactivity series is our cheat sheet for which metal is strongest. And finally, corrosion. Like rust is a problem, but we can prevent it with a protective coating. Got it? All right, before you go, I've got a little something for you to think about. A homework question, if you will. Using everything we've talked about today, all those properties, why do you think kitchen cooking pans are made of metal, but their handles are almost always made of plastic or wood? Give it some thought. It was great exploring this with you today. Until next time.
आज के बिजनेस वर्ल्ड में सिर्फ दिखना काफी नहीं, आपकी पहचान सुनाई भी देनी चाहिए। हर सर्विस की एक कहानी होती है, हर ब्रांड की एक आवाज होती है।
रविकांत आपके ब्रांड को देगा म्यूजिकल पहचान।
अपने ब्रांड को आवाज दो, हर दिल तक एहसास दो। हर ब्रांड बनता है विजन से, हर पहचान बनती है इमोशन से। अब मार्केटिंग नहीं, ब्रांड एक्सपीरियंस बनाइए। रविकांत के साथ आपकी सर्विस सिर्फ दिखेगी नहीं, महसूस भी होगी। नाम आपका, आवाज हमारी, पहचान बनेगी सबसे अलग आपकी। आज हम सिर्फ सर्विस नहीं देते, हम ब्रांड की पहचान बनाते हैं। वो विजन को आवाज मिलती है जब ब्रांड म्यूजिक से जुड़ता है। रविकांत के साथ हर कैंपेन मार्केट में अलग दिखता है। आज के समय में सिर्फ रिज्यूमे बनाना काफी नहीं है, जरूरी है कि लोग आपको समझें, आपकी स्किल्स को जाने और आपकी कहानी सुने। आज सोशल मीडिया पर जो दिखता है वही बिकता है। इसीलिए हम लाए हैं रिज्यूम एक्सप्लेनेशन वीडियो सर्विस, जहां आपका रिज्यूम ये प्रोफेशनल तरीके से ये आसान भाषा में समझाया जाता है। दिखो, इससे बनती है आपकी करियर रेपुटेशन और मजबूत होती है आपकी सोशल रेपुटेशन। जब आप अपना रिज्यूम वीडियो सोशल मीडिया पर शेयर करते हैं तो लोग आपको सिर्फ नाम से नहीं, आपकी काबिलियत से पहचानते हैं। क्योंकि आपकी पहचान मायने रखती है। क्योंकि आपकी पहचान मायने रखती है।